And with me to discuss all of this, we have Behnam Ben Taleblu, a Senior Director of the Iran Program at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. So it seems like the Europeans have been trying to turn up the pressure on Iran in the hopes of getting it to negotiate. Do you think they've already been successful in that regard?
It's a pleasure to be with you. I do think that the Europeans have already been successful in really first changing the impression of their will to counter both the breadth and the depth of the threat that the Islamic Republic poses, particularly in the American psyche. If we just go back half a decade, all three of these countries, the UK, France, and Germany, opposed the U.S. attempt to do exactly this, to unilaterally snap back UN sanctions. Now, fast forward 5 years later, they are at the helm of this process doing it. And unfortunately, the reason is not because of effective American diplomacy. Unfortunately, the reason is how much and how significantly the Iran threat has grown.
So what do you think they're going to want to see in these negotiations or try and get done?
So certainly the Europeans, in my view, had a pretty low bar to try to avoid or delay this snapback mechanism. And snapback is a legal and bureaucratic process at the UN Security Council where you can basically restore the architecture of multilateral pressure on Iran that used to exist from 2010 to 2015. So I expect the Europeans to hold firm onto their demands about getting full IEA access, being able to have the Iranians tell them where the 400 plus kilograms of highly enriched uranium is, and to get the Americans and the Iranians talking again. But because the Iranians have said no to these things for quite a while now, it's likely that we're not going to see any kind of resolution, and you're likely to see diplomatically in the next few weeks the Iranians rely on their lawyers in the UN Security Council, which are the Russians and the Chinese, to stall this process.
How much do you think this will feature at the UN General Assembly when it meets in New York next month?
That's an excellent question because the 30-day timeline that exists with respect to the snapback process does overlap significantly with the last quarter of the month of September, which is the 80th session of the UNGA. I think it'll put more kind of political pressure on the Europeans and the Iranians to either come to some kind of agreement to stave off snapback, or if there is a failure to get IAEA access, well, that will only intensify Europe's desire for this. So certainly keep your eyes and ears peeled on UNGA number 80.
Now, it bears worth repeating that President Trump, in his first term, unilaterally withdrew from the Iran nuclear accord. Do you think the fact that we've seen the Americans step back there is part of the reasons that we're seeing, one of the reasons that we're seeing the Europeans step in?
Not really. As much as I would like the Europeans to have stepped in earlier with pressure 2018 to 2020, the Europeans actually did everything they could to keep the deal on life support. In fact, from that time that the president left the deal in 2018, they actually set up a system to circumvent U.S. sanctions after the administration changed and the Biden administration came in. And as the war with Ukraine and Russia took shape in 2022, the Europeans for 6+ months tried to extend the hand of diplomacy to the Islamic Republic. So no one can say the European Union under an American president that's an R or a D hasn't tried to keep this afloat.
Now, an important point just before we go, Iranians already are facing dire economic circumstances. There's energy and water shortages. How would sanctions actually affect people who are living there?
Well, certainly it could magnify the shock that is already present in Iran when you talk about electricity, when you talk about water, and even the currency. It's over 1 million rials to the US dollar. That's the Iranian currency. But the interesting thing is that large swaths of the Iranian population actually hold their own government accountable. You haven't seen anyone take a public stand against snapback that isn't a regime official or isn't a government official. And that's an interesting thing and a trend line we saw starting with President Trump's economic pressure back in term one. All of the bulk of the protest slogans were directed at Tehran and not at Washington.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today in the studio with your expertise. We've been talking to Behnam Ben Taleblu, Senior Director at the Foundation for Defense of Democracy's Iran Program.
Thank you.